treat as that. There are many of us who are actually happy people, who are positive people. I think we should things that really reinforce that. And besides also, I feel that gay should not just be like just gay people. I think there should be some straight people in it. So that straight people are easy.
But there are plays and all that with straight people.
When Peter and I did Language of the World, there were many nights where a majority of the audience members were straight. There's this one scene where the character I play is dead and he's dead on the stage. So I had to go and just observe the audience. And I could see a lot of straight couples move. I see old couples putting their heads together. Really, they don't see this as a gay thing. So I'm just trying to reassure you that you don't necessarily need to have a token anything to have anyone to watch. You know? I think it's beyond that. But I don't know.
So I think we have to really think about like what's next. Like right now, we have more people now more open, and they are more accepting in a sense to things that happen around us. So what are the things that we should talk about rather than to try to establish anything? I think that's really way past. Yeah, I mean right now, like how to move on right now. If you were to see a gay play, I don't think we want to see all the normal stuff again. So what are the new things that we're supposed that we want to see now? You know, what are things that we see that
I personally, as a theater practitioner and theater goer, I would like to see more plays, if we're talking about gay plays, to be of relevance to our culture, you know. We're Asian, so family is a big part. You know, often we grapple with, coming out, we have to deal with the family, and how does that work? We're so far away from domestic partnerships and all these things. You know, I want to see those issues tackled or attempted. You know, just I think there are a lot of issues that we can go into. Not just the same old, another 18, another this.
Can I invite Alvin to maybe share with us? It's gone to the restroom. Okay, how about the rest of you? I mean, it's not just a conversation with the data makers, like for example,
I wasn't here for a bit of the talk, but I just like to add, I'm primarily doing theater for commercial purposes, or doing theater for something else, for yourself, or to make statements.
Well, different theater makers do theaters with a different purpose. I think some people do it commercially, some people do it for whatever, and some engage in experimental theater and all that.
So when we say just now what's next for us, right? So what is actually important? Do we need to say about something there, or do we need to do something that's more important for the community?
Okay, my question didn't actually touch on the box office takings and stuff. Not really the commercial things. Rather, like for example, if you were to go to watch, just say a gay play, or specifically a gay play with a gay theme, what would you want to see like now today? I think age is kind of passé, although it's still relevant, but the theme is passé. And also things about melodrama, always someone dying after that, and then all the sad stuff and all that. I don't think these are things that we've seen already. So what's the next thing that you are looking at? Should it, I don't know, what's the next thing that you want to see?
Like what the gentleman that said, what he said earlier on, I think maybe some of the, we say like partnerships, something you see. Maybe something that people within our own circle like to see. So maybe online is kind of
I've always wondered why no one ever did plays about homophobic gays. That's very relevant here. There's a lot of resentment, I don't know what it is, but bias and bigotry against feminine men. I have a lot of friends with feminine, like really kind of friends. I think they're great. I think it's fantastic that they're impressed with who they are. But we have this whole platoon of people who disagree with us like that. You're not supposed to be feminine. You have to be manly. You have to dress manly. You have to go build muscles. Just I would like to see it.
Social expectations. Okay. Something back. Yes. I'm going to invite you to. I would like to ask you a question. If you were to write a new game, if you were to write a new game, I think what do you think are the most are the current things that you would want to talk or ponder about?
I suppose I started it for Volume 1 and Volume 2, and Volume 1 dealt with the kind of revisionist gay history, and Volume 2 was more about geography and how gay people met spaces. So I think so far, what review? I let the cat out of the bag. Volume 3 will be basically about literature and how, in a sense, gay people write their own histories. I think this is important to sort of situate it in Singaporean context because, you know what, we don't have guidebooks. Yeah, we don't have these things that so-called teach us how to live. And so how do we mark our milestones? I think that's one of the things that we want to explore because it's not going to be marriage, it's not going to be your first child, your child in college, and that kinds of stuff. So but you deal with stuff like parents passing on. So how do you deal with that whole cycle of parents passing on and then children growing up and all this? So how do we mark these significant events? I think so. That's something I want to look at with Volume 3. And I also want to look at the body of literature that we have. And I think that part of today will be an adaptation of Ivan Asli's Peculiar Curse that's written in 1992, and which is a kind of document that I feel very close to because it's pre-internet, it's 92. So how did gay people meet, for example? AFA was a kind of de facto front for a gay organization, so those people who didn't want to phone the numbers scribbled upon the doors or cruise in swimming pools would probably go for some AFA event, and so as a record of a certain point of time in history, I think that book is very special to me. And I got in touch with Johan, and he told me about writing that book. And only he had never fallen in love. Only had an encounter once, etc. And he wrote this entire book where you have a character who's caring for a lover who's very outgoing. So it all seemed like the projections of this boy. He wrote this book as 1920 in NS, and I find that very interesting.
For me, to give the response about Chinese language plays in Singapore, I don't think I've seen that many Chinese language gay plays in Singapore. Not that many. I think there were a couple of adaptations. I think for film you see like Beijing Gushi, right? The one about Nan Yu. It's actually a adaptation of Beijing Gushi. And I think for the Chinese people, only Xiao He, his name will be very familiar because he's a Chinese writer who's based in the United States now. So he wrote another book called Qing Shan Zhi Lian, which is a bit more verbose than Beijing Gushi. So I have not seen that many of them in Singapore. I mean, in terms of in fact, this question actually came up when I had a discussion with parents. I think the organizer of Indignation saying that there aren't that many Chinese language events in Indignation 206. So, I mean, not just about the language alone, Chinese language. The community, there are definitely other communities in Singapore, but specifically to the Chinese people. Anyone has any thoughts about